everyone. Okay, I'd like to call to order the Wilmette Park District Committee of the Whole meeting for April 27th. Thank you. At 6:32 p.m. Could we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Clark.
Here.
Commissioner Leahy. Here. Commissioner Frager.
Here.
Commissioner Duffy. Present. Commissioner Goble.
Here.
Commissioner Adrian Oakley.
Here.
We have one.
Excellent. Before we begin, may I please have a motion to include Commissioner Murdoch via telephone?
So second.
All right, Commissioner Murdoch, you are live on the phone.
I think we have to.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Murdoch is joining us on the phone. 2.0, communications and correspondence. Do we have anyone here who would like to address the board? Yes, Alan.
So I would like to publicly thank Dave, Megan, Connor, and Chris for meeting with me Friday morning down at the sailing beach. We had a good discussion for about 45 minutes, I think, on the sailing beach. And again, I'd like to publicly say thank you very much for taking the time and the energy to come and meet with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, staff. It's wonderful. Such great feedback. Okay, 4.0, seeing none. 5.0, new business. 5.1, March 2026 financial update.
Hi, so I put the memo together. I'm waiting to hear back from the people who run the budgets on variances because I have a monthly report now that everybody fills out where they talk about variances that are greater than $7,500 and 10% positive or negative. And I should probably see that, I think, at the end of this week. So I'll have a memo updated when we have the board meeting next week. There's an issue still with ComEd. Can't get a bill for the CRC, and I don't know why that is. And we're working, I'm talking to them almost every day. And then property taxes, one of my favorite discussions. I love the fact that since 1978, the second installment due date was consistently late for 33 out of 48, the last 48 years. So I just wanted to share that with you. It's my favorite thing I read this next week. Does anybody have any questions regarding revenues or expenses that I can answer?
Thank you for these memos. I find them so helpful. Yeah.
And then capital, I track it by projects. So these are all of the capital projects that are late. And we've already budgeted for, but we haven't paid for. Or the detail is in the capital, whether we've ordered or not ordered something. Beginning of the year, I asked everybody who has a capital project to tell me when. And it's just it's just a moving target. I do it's best we can. So.
Sheila, can I ask a question about the three items that are not reflected in the 2026 column, but are carryover from 2025?
Yes. What's your question?
So are those going to still be spent, or where do?
So I believe one of them is the Gilson infrastructure, and that is just because of timing and winter. What needs to be done is going to be done in the spring. And, Josh can talk more about that. I think the second thing is the CRC. We knew the CRC was just going to take long. I mean, I guess maybe we didn't know when we put the stuff together, but we knew when we were doing budgeting that finishing up the CRC from the sprinkler incident was just going to take 2 years to get updated. I don't remember what the third thing was.
Keys.
Langdon?
Keys.
Keys.
Oh, keys for the one. Yeah,
lead time.
there's a long lead time for the keys, implementing our keys for our rescue system. 26 weeks. So it's just a timing issue.
Any further questions?
Yeah. Any other questions?
Sure. I'm sure you thought this is for lead time is so long. Is there suitable?
But it's a good question. We do have this lock system that we've invested a lot of money in with a specific company. So we have to stick with that local vendor for this. But the lead times are getting better on these subsequent orders.
Really lock you in there.
Wait.
All right. I don't know how to follow that.
It's on.
Okay. I know we've all been eagerly waiting for this. Jason Stanislav, please provide 5.2 Racquets update.
Hi, so you all probably remember this series of these off a year ago, so this, I think, I'm the first repeat offender on this. The last time I did this, I started and 27 minutes later it ended and Margaret is still visiting. So, I would try not to take up 27 minutes. So I've been preaching racket sports integration for years now, since the press started deciding that pickleball and tennis were against each other. Turns out they're both still growing, and in our world, there's platform tennis growing. We're seeing in our reservation pools, 25% of our platform tennis players also have reserved tennis and or pickleball court. So our crossover between the racket sports very locally is pretty heavy. And we're seeing pretty quick spiky growth in this game called Padel that we'll have to get to at some point tonight. In less than 27. We've chosen market positions kind of for each racket sport. The industry work differently. So tennis has for a long time in a commercial sense been based in lessons. That's where we primarily live. That's the prime mover of our business needle. In platform, the mover is membership. It's all based on team play. There is obviously a lesson line that matters, but the real core of that revenue comes out of membership. Pickleball, we've chosen not to be in a club setting, but in a park setting. That measurement for us becomes about use and play, and do we have capacity for the play that wants to happen? And then Padel, we don't know because we're not. So we'll get to that sometime. That as a backdrop, these are the sort of initiatives that we've been working on. It was 2 years ago we started reinventing the team travel segment. Those practices have doubled the amount of court hours that we're teaching practice for those teams. And then 2 years into this project this year, we landed 2 out of 5 teams in playoffs. They'd be sort of in the top 4. So that's a signal that there's some energy there. I think that's actually a really good sign. As you guys are all aware of, right, that we've implemented this apprentice program where I have 2 slots to have the developmental slot for BT1 ACA level employee. The first one was filled a little over a year ago. That's Emily Lemon. She was primarily tasked with reinventing our under 10 instructional segment. And I'm this close to hiring the second one to have them sort of staggered by years. We restructured the under 10 instruction to really align with USTA standards. Program that segment grew 20% in the last year. It's happened. And then as a secondary piece to that, we need to add some more play, and that's become primarily now through USTA junior team tennis. So sort of a team setting, so you're not sending a kid out to a tournament alone, but you have a team of 6 to 8 kids that come together. They play other clubs basically, and that is also now starting to point us towards the 2026 initiative, which is reinventing the junior excellence segment. That's going to be we hope we'll be coaching, or we hope we have actually in-house now the core of the Trier's tennis team in the future. Maybe not the top of it, but the chunk of the middle of it. And then we'll see who wants to really excel at it. Platform tennis time with team assortment. We grew to 61 teams. So that's we have been saying this, and it's actually true. I think we've established that we are the biggest paddle program in the world. Yeah, see, that's we used to laugh about it, now we just believe it. Yeah, that's about it. And here in Connecticut, nothing else. Universe. Yeah,
Galaxies.
Yeah. But we mentioned this at a platform symposium this weekend, and everyone said, yeah, we think so. So and then this year we expanded the rosters, to greater than 10 players per roster to address some of the waitlisted folks. And that's helped quite a lot. Also, people do get injured, it turns out, and, you need them on your roster anyway. Added the volley machine last year. That's been operated as a membership upgrade, as a quarterly add-on to membership. So it's one of the ways to generate some interim revenue outside of the kind of annual membership. And then spring league was reformatted to involve coaches on site for the whole event, the whole night. We have 400 players playing spring league, which is about half the membership, so that's remarkable. And we use spring league sometimes to have some folks in some smaller clubs who are looking for something to do in the spring. They kind of get a taste of what we're up to that way. And then the price doubled. And so again, apparently there was some room to work there if we ended up with 400 players, nonetheless. Pickleball facilities, you're aware of the conversion of the courts. We seem to have the right capacity now in the mornings. There was some compression with open play at community play fields and no courts to be reserved in the mornings. We've now left those courts for open play, and Hibbert is the place for residents to reserve. We'll put actually the outdoor lessons at Hibbert and kind of leave community play fields as the hub of the kind of where the people gather. And then we have a partnership with the Long Pickleball Association, and I've been invited on a couple of their executive board calls, and so we're staying super aligned with them so we don't miss the heartbeat of our community's pickleball taste out there. But so we're not in Fidel, but some folks around us are. The national trend is crazy. 2023, less than 100,000 players. 2025, there are 500,000 players identified in America. So that growth rate is madness. 2019, there were 20 Fidel courts in America, and we're up to about 700 actually right now. Locally, there's a club in Mundelein, Club Glenview, Alma, Logan Square, one open in Logan, the West Loop Club. Something going to be opening in Northbrook soon, and then there's a court at Saddle. The only public courts right now in Illinois are in Highland Park in the bubble on 41. And that's a joint pickle and pedal operation. From a marketing standpoint, there aren't a ton of competitors. The growth rate is aggressive, and the hourly rates are. When we think about tennis court at $35 an hour, we're like, hey, how can we really get 4 people to play at $35 an hour? The hourly rates that are happening right now are like 40 a head. So that's 160 an hour. I would assume there will be a point where that number starts to return to earth, but it's the supply. So that issue, I assume. But there's some money to it. Finally, I use this analysis of my budgets, and I take out things that aren't operational. So our transfers to admin, and then in the platform budget, there's the transfer to the debt to the expansion project of $227,000 a year. When I take those out, I think I get a better view of kind of what the businesses are actually doing. And so this lays out, I think, pretty clearly in platform, the revenue is growing at a reasonable clip. The expenses are growing at a slightly lower clip, and if we're at 28% on that, I feel pretty comfortable with that. That's projecting similarly this season. And then tennis, I think, is a little even better news that our revenue is growing incrementally with expenses not growing really at all. So that puts us at a 36% net. That's a healthy business to be in. So that is my bit in the shortest time I've ever seen. So if anyone has any questions, I am here for them.
I do have a question for you. Going back to pickleball. Please, I think I heard you say that at Hibbard is where people can reserve courts. And Hibbard is where you're going to teach lessons. And community playfields is only just open play.
Open play in the morning and then reservations the rest of the time.
I see.
But we're going to not, we're going to land the lessons at Hibbard,
Yeah,
not a community playfield, so the community playfield, there's 2 more courts.
yeah. So that there's just constant play going on there. So people that are beyond lessons or think they're beyond lessons, whatever, can always just find space to play over there.
Right.
And then, correct me, was there, there was a donation by a group for some shade or something over at Community Playfields? Furniture. And are we gonna do shade over there or anything like that? I thought that's where we were headed.
So we want to someday. We don't have that yet. At Hibbard, we actually investigated this originally at Hibbard, and then that apron, right, where the kind of done to the east of the low fence, there's not really a place to put anything else. So the furniture is going to go there, kind of like high top. It's kind of like it's kind of going to look like what the platform hub looks like. It's going to be high top tables and benches and like stools. And then talking to the association, I think it's going to make sense to do the same sort of assortment of furniture at both places. It just seems silly for that price not to have someone choose one because they can get a chair seems like a silly.
Yeah.
But no, the shade's a longer arc down. I think that becomes a real conversation when we talk about permanently changing that tennis court to 2 permanent pickle courts there. I think then we'll see exactly how much space we have left in that kind of, there'll be kind of an alleyway through between the 2 courts and 6 courts. And then we figure out shade from there.
The space that's in between the tennis courts and the pickle tennis combo, that is, I feel like, where people gather, right? Am I wrong in that?
Depends on the people.
Okay.
So the open play people gather on the tennis court,
Okay,
which is where that furniture is gonna go.
yeah.
And they're committed to it. And if you watch, if you've ever, I don't care, if you want to do something fun, you want to do a social experiment, go out there in the morning and watch how people act. But it makes kind of sense when you walk in that gate, it's exactly where you would go. People who are playing tennis kind of gather in that space.
Between the 2, yeah.
And because the acoustic fence, it's real, you can't really see through it.
Okay.
So when you're in between, you can't really see into the pickle space unless you really.
So it prevents them from seeing when they can slot in to
Right.
play.
Right,
Okay.
and because they're rotating, they're kind of on the surface, so where they're standing makes sense. It's made that tennis court pretty much like the stage. for play.
Is that tennis court being used?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's a reservation as well, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Are there any underutilized tennis courts in Wilmette that consider, pickle seems to be such a, growing across all ages and stages.
So it's going the other, we're actually headed the other way. We're running low on tennis courts. We actually could use more tennis courts. The tennis community is starting, like, they're recognizing, that we've converted 5 tennis courts to
Okay.
pickleball courts. We're looking at programming this summer. For the first time, we're moving a camp indoors because we're just out of courts to put it in. Is that a good problem? I mean, I don't know.
Question on that topic. When 2 courts. So there was some concern about programming. But 6 courts in one location. Versus courts.
The general compression of court space is becoming more challenging than I anticipated. The camp we're moving indoors is exactly because of that 6-court setup, but we also do have the indoor space to use, so it's not like we're losing the camp over it, but I prefer to have it be an outdoor camp if I had the option. But we're thinking about things like moving like some team matches to community playfields this year for the first time, because we don't want to block off 4 courts for a 3-court event because of how valuable that court space is. And then I think you all have seen Botman, right? It faces the wrong way. It's sloped awkwardly, and there's a crevasse. And so there's some issues that work through at Botman to figure out if we could make those 3 courts viable courts to a more serious tennis player, that we might be in a better position. But those 3 people sort of pass on, unless you live, across the alley. $103 courts. No, probably 3 more courts would put us in a good place. 3 more courts, please.
When we were first putting proposing the pickleball courts and playfields, there was also a proposal to add more tennis courts, and the decision was made, I think, not to do so. I mean, is that something that should be revisited then? And I know there was some neighbor pushback against expanding the footprint, but it should be something that's, looked at again or considered again.
I think there could be value in looking at that space that's behind the bank of 3 tennis courts now, and figuring out exactly where another bank lands, and if that bank back right up to the 3 existing courts, so you minimize how close to even getting to the houses. What is that street?
Locust.
Yeah, but what's the street? There's a perpendicular one that's sorry. Yeah, right. Thank you.
What about thinking about utilizing community play fields to the southeast? There's nothing back there. There's a big field there, and you've got parking on the east side when the school's not in session.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having them, okay, so if there's tournament, if there's whatever going on where multiple teams are there, maybe people have to walk across the field. They're not right by each other.
Yeah.
Sorry, orient me. So south.
Southeast.
There's a small grove of trees.
But beyond the trees, there's a big open area all the way to the south side of that corner back there. I've been back there playing frisbee. It's a huge area.
It's nice.
Yeah.
It could be. I think if we start talking about another bank of tennis courts, I think that's just something we would like. We take an overhead view of it and lay out a couple free options and bring them back to you.
Well, in my recollection of those conversations was that we did promise that we would be taking data for, guys, let's try to focus.
I remember that as well.
That we were going to be taking data on it, because there were conversation amongst the pickleball players that they were like, no, we would be happy if these were converted. And so to the neighbors, we talked about, okay, we're not doing that for now. We're focusing on here now. And so it sounds like the data is showing us now we would be able to talk to the neighbors about, we have data that is showing that we are in demand for more. Because if we're opening that conversation up again, I think we would need to really present a strong case as to how, when, why, and where we were going with it.
And I think, in my opinion, it would be have that conversation and look at Botman, right? And look at a site that already has courts that aren't really utilized well. And if we could use that site to support another 3 tennis courts that made some sense somehow, maybe that's a better solution than going back to the neighbors who have been, I mean, it's been really, honestly, like, for all the things I hear in my Racquets world about the battle between the pickleball people and the tennis people and the neighbors, like, it's been remarkably peaceful. But
I remember those neighbors being actually really lovely when the tennis and neighbors
heard from the paddle or pickle people, they really kind of came to an agreement independently. Yeah, it was great.
And has the parking resolved itself around the playfields? Because I understand it was challenging with D39 and pickleball players in the morning. Do we have capacity for parking over there?
We do. We do, it's just on the street, it's not local.
Okay.
And the parking issue is really early morning teachers arriving.
Yeah.
And not having, people, not having pickleball players make teachers late for classes, I think I think everyone reacted well to that, like,
Okay.
hey, okay, sorry, we got it. It came off a little heavy-handed from District 39 initially, because they just sort of put up like barricades. Didn't look real welcoming, because of barricades, I guess they're not supposed to look welcoming. Anyway, but the parking is basically happening now on Locust, so that's going fine, like that little walk, it's like, I don't know, 100 yards, right, 150 yards from the street, so.
You mentioned, because badminton, that those courts are not very good, because they're not oriented correctly, and I guess the surface, that sounds like the surface is issues with it. And can those courts be improved with, so it sounds like people, would that help? If courts were improved, would that help with any of the,
Yes.
pressure on playing fields?
So there are multiple issues with those courts, right? The orientation is a pretty big problem from a serious play standpoint. Yeah, it's facing the wrong way.
You have to take out the playground to go north-south though.
So the answer, I guess, the way you do it is you spin that bank the other way, this way from the alley to the street and move the playground to go to where the first tennis court is sort of. So it would be a whole, like, to swing that different direction, Julia, would be probably reconfiguring that whole segment to that part.
Including the playground, like you said, just looking at it probably,
Right.
yeah.
Please know Commissioner Murdoch has joined our meeting in person.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
But I think that's worth looking at also, as long as we're looking at the options on it 3 more times.
I think, yeah, data would help inform that for sure. I mean, Regina has a great deal of space. Could there be a discussion around space? If we're looking at one, could we look at all options?
And the skills been utilized.
Yes,
Jason, I also don't want to just brush over, you bring up Padel, obviously, for a reason, in that there's tremendous growth potential with it. That feels right now, given master planning potential, and to be a good start of the conversation, but could you talk a little bit more about how you would see that under the Racquets umbrella?
So the Racquets culture in our town is run super deep, right? And our platform situation is so healthy. Like, it's amazing. I see Padel becoming a seasonal swap for a lot of players who play platform with us. I think there's some surveying we can do in the short term, but maybe we just to the Racquets community about their awareness of Padel, their interest in Padel, and get some kind of like, just some kind of heartbeat on it, what do we have locally? But I think, so platform to me, and I think a lot of us, we sort of don't play a ton in the summer, the court gets super hot and the ball bounces around like a super ball, and it's just a lot less fun. But I would play, my world would look like I would get done with my platform season, right before spring break, because I don't make the playoffs. And then I would immediately get to Padel, potentially outdoors. In Spain, Padel is indoor and outdoors. There's more Padel courts than tennis courts in Spain right now. Brazil, it's gone bananas. And so the reason I think it's important to bring it out to you all at this point is that growth is it's already happening. Like, the writing is on the wall that, like, we're going to see a fourth racket sport. And I don't want to miss on the timing where some part of this board comes back to me like, why didn't you tell us about this? I mean, it's out there, right? And then if I can bring back some data from, at least at like interest level. I mean, I don't know if any of you played, but it's pretty fun. Tribal game's fun, and like it's a little more athletic than like our platform, but you don't have to cover, tennis court is like 2,800 square feet, like it's a big space, right? And like I'm not getting faster or younger, so like the idea that like I have a game that's contained within balls, that also really helps. And it's gonna happen on the North Shore, first, and it's already started. So I don't want us to be too late to the party or to say like, hey, we lived on this. But I also, we have to figure out where, when, and how we model it. I think it's in a club environment, but
So if you see it as this kind of spring, summer, fall activity, you're thinking more outdoors than indoors, or it could be either, or what makes the most sense?
well, I think if we introduce it outdoors, that we're an outdoor tennis playing community. I think we all want to be outdoors, so we want to be outdoors so much we play platform outdoors in the winter all winter. My opinion is that if we did that, an outdoor club-like facility, I think it's the best complement to platform.
I imagine it's much more cost effective too.
Do people play outdoor in the winter though, or it shuts down?
No. But, I mean, that it's, in Florida, it's outdoor a lot, Texas, there's sports and. But, we're an outdoor playing people, so I see it as us just sort of like flipping between paddle sports. I feel like that market's sort of captured.
Thank you. Any other questions for Jason? Thank you, Jason. Switch your staff.
Thanks.
And then we get to copy of your presentations.
Yeah, for a small fee. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Jason. All right, 5.3 Centennial cooling tower.
All right, yes, so we went out for a bid for the cooling tower a little while back. We received 2 competitive bids that were within our budget. We're just in the process of finalizing the numbers because there was a little bit of scope and design change regarding the actual footings and the where the wall is gonna go. So we're just finalizing that with the contractor. One of the big piece is the significant coordination with ComEd. Myself, Chris, and staff have been working really diligently with ComEd, and we're at a space and time. We believe that we have a really good working schedule with ComEd as to when they'll be able to move the underground electric feed to the ice arena. And I just want to bring this out. So when we do that work, there is going to be about a 5-day time frame where Centennial won't be open. Now, I want to preface this with there's 3 ComEd feeds to that entire campus. One feeds the ice, one feeds specifically tennis, the other feeds pool. So those 2 will not be is impacted by this. Additionally, during that time frame, so we do not lose ice, we're going to get a generator on site hooked in, so that way we can keep the ice going. So that part of the building will just be non-usable for that from that time frame. We're pegging July 13th to the 17th tentatively right now. This is all weather dependent on that. And before I go any further, were there any questions regarding this?
So the pool will stay open, the tennis will stay open, so
Correct.
to the ice area.
Only the ice area. Yes. So that backup generator will run specifically the ice and compressor room to keep the facility up.
Curiosity question. I know that on the side, I had a conversation with our executive director about this. Have you found any drawings about where all the utilities access that facility? Like, we didn't know this ComEd one was there until we decided that's where we were putting the cooling tower. Last summer, right as we were opening the pool, we had a water main break. We didn't know we had a water main there. And that kind of was the genesis of the conversation. Have you found anything,
So we do know on the backside where the, so what street would that be? We know on the backside of tennis where that feeder comes in from ComEd, additionally with the pool. We now know where all the water mains are on the facility. That is something that we've looked at too, as far as eventually having to do repair work and replacement stuff.
So the answer is yes, you guys.
Yeah.
We do have, during that incident, staff found plans and showed up on site. We found the right shut off for water department to shut off that main break.
Thank you.
Good to have for all of our buildings, right?
Agreed. Yes. So our intent is to bring this forward at the next board.
Any other questions? All right, okay, I have a motion to adjourn the closed session, please.
Move to adjourn the closed session to closed session for the discussion of the purchase or lease of real property for the use of the park district, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired, as well as the setting of a price for lease or sale of property owned by the public body in accordance with sections 2C5 and 2C6 of the Open Meetings Act.
Seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.